Let's put the timer on so I don't over talk. Okie dokie. First, I need to find a very comfortable position because this is an uncomfortable bench. Good morning, everyone. My name's Serena Bernie and I'm the author of Adored. On the cover, my name is not on it. It is B.L.B because that's what I wanted. This segment is called Adoring Mornings because it is 8:51. I was supposed to start shooting at 8. However, I had some technical difficulties, but it's okay. So this segment is basically just to explain my journey of Adored. If this is your first time watching my videos, then you can click that little button at the bottom and go watch all my other ones. And then if you like what you see, you can subscribe. And if you don't, then you can go watch something else. Why am I so fidgety this morning? Ugh. In this episode, I'm gonna talk about inspiration. Ta-da! The first scene that came in my mind, well, first things first. Let's talk about why I started writing. I was about to move back home from New York City, and this was November of 2014, and I was broke because it's extremely expensive there and did not have any money for Christmas presents. And I have a large family. I thought, oh, I'm gonna write each of them a novel, and then that's gonna be their Christmas present because they all like to read, so that worked out pretty well. I was a quarter way through with my other sister's books, and then my last sister, which turned out to be Adored, and it was the most difficult to write for her because I usually don't like to write realistic fiction. Whenever I write, I usually go immediately to fantasy, so it was very difficult for me to decide to write realistic fiction. Turned out to be a strength of mine that I did not know. So that's usually what my sister reads. So I was like, okay, well, I decided on the genre. I'll just let inspiration come to me. And I'm so sorry if you're hearing the dog barking. That is my dog right on that corner because he's hearing me talk, and he is very sensitive to any noise. So he's just like, intruder, 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 when it's just me. So mid-November, I was just laying in bed, about to go to sleep, and I get the inspiration. Second scene in chapter 2. What I saw was just this small hospital room, and there was this girl, teenager, kind of resting her hands on the bed and just crying, and then there was this man on the bed. I'm in the film industry, so I see everything in camera angles. It was just a beautiful scene in my head. Like, the light was correct, everything, there was just like, everything was just panning correctly, and everything was just perfect. And I just fell in love with those set of shots. So I thought, well, why is she crying? And then I just thought, well, that's her father. And I was like, well, why is he in a hospital? And then my mom was like, oh, he's in a coma. And I was like, well, why is he in a coma? Basically, I'm weird. I just had a conversation with myself, and I tried to figure out what was the scene about. And then boom, father got in an accident, which then led to him being in a coma. The girl was visiting him and crying. So I was like, well, that's realistic fiction. And I was like, I should write the book about that. So that was the first scene. That was what I started writing, actually. And despite all the sentences and everything else being changed, that is what scene 2 in chapter 2 is about. And that's how I got the inspiration for writing Adored. And I kind of started writing chapter 1, the first page, which was the most difficult thing to write ever. I never thought of publishing this because that was never something I thought I would do in my 20s. So I basically wrote 4 chapters and presented it to my sister. I didn't finish any of the other books, and that was something that was pretty normal for me because I've always just started writing, and I would write 20 pages and then I wouldn't pick it back up. But with this, it was different. I don't know how, but I managed to complete it. So then I gave her 4 chapters in December. She read it and she loved it. She was like, wow, this is really good, you should finish it. So then I thought, yeah, I think I might do it. And I did manage to get my family other Christmas presents, but the book was not one of them. So then I just started writing. I just started talking to myself basically and figuring out what was going on in this girl's life and what was going on in her family and her relationships. And then I created Abigail. That's the protagonist. And she basically is the person I think I wanted to be as a teenager. I always hated reading books about girls that were weak, or girls that just was kind of pushed around by society and by guys, and I was like, there is not one book at the time that I can read that the girl is completely confident. So that is something that I really wanted to write about because, I mean, I was an extremely insecure teenager and still am at times. Personally for me, it was wonderful to write and get in the mind of someone that was confident and did encounter difficulties and just kind of see the way she dealt with those difficulties. Now, what I did when I ran out of inspiration. Well, I did something else. I did not write. I did not read during the first, I think I'm still not reading. Yeah, that was just something I didn't want to do. I didn't want to copy someone else's style, which a lot of people say, hey, it's okay for you to copy your favorite author's style for a while or kind of read a lot. But for me, I really needed to focus on finishing this. So for me to focus was to completely 100% commit myself to this book. When I ran out of inspiration, when I didn't know when I didn't know what was going on in the scene, when my mind just couldn't wrap around the situation or the character, I just put it aside. It's not like at work when you have to make yourself finish the shift, and it's something that involves your creativity and just artistic ability. Wow, I really sound like a hipster. You just kind of have to do what works best for you. Some people go write something else. Some people, I don't know. I've researched a lot. I really enjoy listening and just watching people's or authors' videos about their journeys. So I find that really interesting and what worked for them or what didn't work for them. So what worked for me was just putting it aside. I literally didn't touch it. I let my mind rest. And then I would reread it till something popped. And sometimes it would be at random times, which is usually how inspiration works for most creative people. Sometimes I just wasn't getting deep enough within the characters, so I really had to act. I really had to become all of those characters. And God, I have an acting background because that helped me so much through this process. So that's pretty much it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.